We live in a world where everything is shared. Breakfast plates, vacations, faces, reflections. Every moment is captured, filtered, and posted. Proof that we exist, proof that we matter. The internet has become our collective mirror, and yet in this endless reflection, something feels lost. You've probably noticed them. The ones who don't appear. No selfies, no look of the day, no family portraits online. They scroll quietly, they watch, but they never post their own photos. Maybe you know someone like that. Maybe it's you. In a world obsessed with visibility, they choose invisibility. In a culture where exposure equals existence, they choose silence. But why? For some, not posting is an act of rebellion. For others, it's self-preservation. And for a few, it's simply who they are. Not a statement, not a decision, just a natural way of existing. While most people live with one eye on the camera lens, these people live with both eyes open, facing reality as it is. They are not trying to capture life. They are trying to live it. We live in the age of exposure. The more we show, the more we feel seen. Or at least that's what we've been told. Psychologists call it the social validation feedback loop. Each like, each comment, releases a small dose of dopamine, a hit of chemical approval that feels like love but fades like smoke. So, we chase it again. We post again. We perform again. Until one day we forget the difference between being known and being noticed. But some people never fell into that loop. They saw the trap before stepping in. They realized that 1,000 likes can't replace a single moment of self-acceptance. And they chose silence. Not because they're shy, but because they're free. To them, the real luxury isn't fame, it's privacy. The rarest form of power is the ability to live unseen, unmeasured, untouched by other people's expectations. People who don't post often have a very different relationship with self-esteem. They don't need proof to feel real. They don't crave validation because they already carry it within. They understand something most forget. When you already know who you are, you don't need others to remind you. Likes can inflate the ego, but they can't fill the soul. And maybe that's why they stay silent. Because silence, unlike attention, can't be taken away. But it's not just about confidence. It's about control. Privacy isn't T about hiding. It's S about choosing what parts of yourself the world gets to see. In psychology, that's called psychological boundaries, the invisible walls that protect our sense of self. People who don't post are simply drawing those lines intentionally. They are saying, "This is mine, my face, my home, my moments, not for public consumption." In a society that constantly demands exposure, choosing privacy is an act of power. It's not fear. It's self-respect. And in that control, they find peace. They decide what stays sacred. They decide what remains untouched. Because not everything that's real has to be witnessed. Some things become more meaningful precisely because they stay unseen. Still, there's another layer. Fear of judgment. Every time you put a piece of yourself online, you open a door to a crowd that doesn't know you. And in that crowd, not everyone claps. Some criticize, some mock, some twist what they see. The simple act of posting can become a stage of anxiety, a performance that never ends. So, they step back. They choose not to play the game. Not because they're afraid of losing, but because they're tired of competing for something that doesn't matter. They know the internet never forgets and never forgives. And they don't want to be defined by a frozen image that can explain the complexity of who they are. For them, the fear of being misunderstood outweighs the reward of being seen. So, they let silence speak for them. Introversion plays a role too. Introverts often experience social media as noise, an overload of emotion, energy, and information. To them, posting a photo feels like standing in the middle of a crowded room, shouting for attention they never wanted in the first place. They prefer the quiet. They recharge in stillness. The fewer eyes on them, the more clearly they can think. It's not isolation, it's preservation of energy. They aren't disappearing. They were just protecting the peace that allows them to exist authentically. Authenticity. That's another reason. People who don't post photos often see social media as a distortion of truth. They understand that identity online is performance, and every post, no matter how honest, is still edited, filtered, framed. They don't want to become actors in a play they didn't audition for. They'd rather be misunderstood for their silence than misrepresented by an image. These people value internal alignment, being who they are, even when no one's watching. They don't want to prove their joy or display their pain for validation. Their life belongs to them, not to the algorithm. Their memories are stored in the mind, not in a cloud. They've made peace with not being seen. At the root of it all lies one simple truth: peace. In a world constantly screaming, "Show more," they whisper less. Less noise, less attention, less exposure. They know that every time you share a piece of your soul online, you give a little of it away. And they'd rather keep theirs whole. It's not that they reject the modern world, they simply engage with it differently. They still care, they still feel, they still connect, but on their terms. They don't need to prove their happiness to be happy. They don't need to announce their success to feel successful. Their validation comes from within. The irony? These people often have the strongest sense of identity, because when you stop performing, you finally see yourself clearly. You stop living for applause and start living for peace. The silence they keep isn't emptiness, it's clarity. So maybe the next time you wonder why someone doesn't post their photos, don't assume it's insecurity. Maybe it's wisdom. Maybe they've realized that the moments that truly matter can't be captured, only lived. Maybe they've understood that when you stop trying to be seen, you finally see. Because in the end, it's not about rejection or hiding. It's about connection, the quiet kind, the one that happens between your thoughts, when the world goes silent and you can finally hear yourself again. Not posting doesn't make them invisible, it just means they're no longer performing. They exist fully in the real world. Not in pixels, not in filters, not in validation loops, just in presence. They live behind the screen, not because they fear the light, but because they've already found it within. So ask yourself, why do you post? To connect or to be seen? Would you still feel real if no one could see you? Could you still love yourself without the mirror of other people's eyes? Because maybe those who post less are not hiding at all. Maybe they're just busy living. And perhaps that's the truest kind of visibility there is.